Everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Salinas Traffic and Transportation Commission this Thursday, June 11th, 2026. Agendas are. Is the mic?
I can hear.
You good? Test, test. Yeah? Okay. Agendas are available at the back of the room in front of the entrance door. And Chrissy, would you mind doing a roll call for us, please?
Commissioner Daly?
Here.
Commissioner Martelli?
Here.
Staff has not received notification from Commissioner Sonio. Commissioner Hammer?
Here.
Commissioner Guerra?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here, but I still can't hear anything.
And Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Is there any way we can check on the audio for? It's on?
Did you push the button?
Do we have another? Do we have any more mics available?
Yeah, you're in my mind.
Stand by. Can you hear me now?
Try the other ear.
Try a good one. Yeah? Yeah? All right. Test. 1, 2, 3. All right. Excellent. Okay. Do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda? Any members of the public? Oh, thank you so much. All right, let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for a reminder. All right, any member of the public wanting to address the commission on items not on today's agenda, but under the purview of the commission may do so at this time. There will be an opportunity to approach the commission regarding scheduled agenda items as they are addressed by the commission. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mary Ann Worden. Been retired from the committee that I was on for 27 years and loved dearly. And I listen to you people. It's a miracle with seeing him in a tie and a suit, let me tell you. Look handsome, Eric. Anyway, the reason I'm here, I know there was a meeting Tuesday night at the library on Williams Road, and I heard it was about roundabouts there. All the committees, meetings that I went to for Williams Road and for Measure G, there was no mention of roundabouts. We did not vote for roundabouts. We voted for our road to be fixed. Now, when you spend the money on roundabouts, you're not going to have money left over to fix roads. I know that. I've seen it. When we voted for Measure G, there was nothing on there roundabouts. We needed to get Baranda fixed. Now, I've been going to different functions, and I've been asked that question. When are they going to finish the rest of the Baranda? And they're madder than heck about that roundabout there. They definitely don't want any more roundabouts made until the roads are fixed. That's what we voted for, Measure G. And they said, if you want us to vote for Measure G to continue, show us that you are at least beginning to do the Baranda, the finish it, not the roundabout, and finish Williams Road that they had promised. That's what we need to do. And we need to I hate to say this, but if you don't, people that don't live in the city and work for the city need to listen to us and do what we voted for. They're not the ones that voted for us. We're the ones that voted for it. We're the ones that are paying it. And that's what they said they wanted. I have been phone calls, and I've got bombarded with people at functions that I've gone to. So I'm just telling you, please, please listen to the people of Salinas. Okay? God bless and thank you. And nice to see all of you instead of on TV.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in the chambers for public comment right now? Anything on Zoom? No hands up, Chrissy? Okay. All right, we will move. Is there any written communication that we missed that's not part of the agenda packet? Perfect. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Items included under the consent agenda may be acted on upon entirely with a single motion, but there's only one. So are there any questions from the commissioners with regard to items under the consent agenda, which is our minutes? I guess we'll start on my left. Commissioner Mattelli.
No questions.
No questions.
Mr. Hernandez?
None.
No, no comments.
Perfect. No comments by me either. Are there any questions or comments from the public with regards to the minutes? Great. Anything online?
They were having problems with the.
Yeah, I know, I see that. Let's just wait just 1 second. I want to make sure that Ms. Warden hears everything.
Like the prison warden? Warden. I think.
Now maybe I can hear him.
We're good to go? Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay, I guess we're looking, there's no public comments anywhere, so I guess we're looking for a motion to approve all the items.
Motion it.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Right. That's it. Roll call. Let's do it.
Commissioner Daley? Approved. Commissioner Mattelli?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammer?
Yes.
Commissioner Guerra?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson? Of course. And Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Excellent. We're just moving along. Next, we are receiving staff reports, administrative reports, item ID 26-279, the administrative report on the Clean California Local Beautification and the Alice L. Greening and Beautification Improvement Project, Skyway Roundabout Monument Artist Selection. Man, can you guys come up with some shorter titles? Like, seriously. All right.
We're paid by the word.
Perfect. Like maybe an acronym.
Very good. Good evening, commissioners and chair, members of the public. My name is Grant Leonard. I'm planning manager with the city of Salinas, and I'm pleased to present this project to you tonight. Might wait 1 second while the presentation loads.
CCLBGP?
Okay, wonderful. So we are presenting on the Skyway Alice L. Street Roundabout Monument Selection from the Clean California Local Beautification Grant Program. Next slide. So by way of background, The Clean California Grant Program is a statewide initiative intended to beautify local roadways, state highways, and to be a transformative initiative, especially for disadvantaged or lower-income communities, focused on removing litter, creating jobs, and overall adding beauty to the community. There's both a statewide component, which the city of Salinas received as well. Those are the underpass murals along 101 at Market, Alisal, and Sanborn. And then a local program. And the city was awarded a local grant of over $2 million in 2022. And I'll walk through a few of the items of that scope of work before we get to the roundabout monument. Next slide. So the bulk of the project was infrastructure and artwork along Alisal Street with a little bit on Sanborn. The dots here represent new trees that were planted along East Alisal Street, new trash enclosures that were installed, existing infrastructure that was refurbished, such as benches, and not on the screen, but another major initiative was the reconstruction of the front patio at the Bread Box on Sanborn. So if you've been out there, it has a nice new open patio and a bus enclosure and trees. Next slide. There were several art components of the Clean California local grant program. Those included artistic wraps for the new trash enclosures that were installed. They come in a plain gray, and what the city did is we received local submissions from students and artists for artwork and photography, and then those were selected and installed on the trash corrals using a wrap. So a local vendor wrapped them with the local images. It also features branding on the sides from the Alisal District Identity Master Plan, which is the vibrant blues and greens and pinks and greens. And then on the right-hand side of the screen were new banners that were installed. And similarly, these feature local photography that was submitted through a call for photography, as well as inspirational sayings like, I live in the Alisal, I work in the Alisal, I play in the Alisal, to again promote the district identity of East Salinas. Next slide. The final major part of this grant is the installation of a new monument at the Skyway Boulevard Alisal Street intersection. This was converted to a roundabout in 2015. It was the city's first roundabout. It currently features standard drought-resistant landscaping. However, the Alisal Vibrancy Plan in 2019 identified a need for gateway monuments throughout the district. And following through on that initiative in the Alisal Vibrancy Plan, part of the application for the Clean California grant program was a new monument to be installed here, an artistic monument. And it will be featured in the center of the roundabout. Next slide. So this spring, the city released a request for proposals for artists to submit concepts to be, for artwork to be installed as a monument in the roundabout. 3 submissions were received, and they were ranked by a committee, a selection committee that included 2 members of the Alisal Vibrancy Plan Implementation Committee. Those are community members who volunteer their time to oversee the implementation of the Alisal Vibrancy Plan. And then staff members from Public Works, given that this is an infrastructure improvement, library and community services to ensure consistency with the city's art master plan, and then the airport as well, since the proximity to the airport at Skyway Boulevard. And here's some dates related to the selection, and the installation, which I'll discuss later, is currently slated for summer and fall of this year. But the selection was based on a criteria in the request for proposals, and included things such as the originality of the design, whether it aligns with the Alisal Vibrancy Plan and the District Identity Master Plan, whether it shows a connection to the community and complements the community's history, and the overall qualifications of the artist and design team submitting. Next slide. Based upon that, the selection committee selected What you see on the screen here, the Kaleidoscope of Life, a mosaic sculpture. It's designed by the Farallon Design Group. I'll read a little bit about the design here. It's intended to be a vibrant gateway and a visual poem to the community's evolving identity. A kaleidoscope inherently relies on an array of distinct and individual pieces coming together to create a unified, beautiful whole. And here it symbolizes the rich history of diversity of Salinas, as well as the continuous and evolving nature of change. So a familiar, and the reason that a bird was selected, featured here, is a California blue jay. As a local, deeply rooted species, it was selected for its remarkable intelligence and adaptability observed in nature. The movement here is an upward kinetic movement that represents the uplifting spirit of optimism and collective motion towards a brighter future. And the soaring gesture also creates a direct geographical reference and thematic connection to the municipal airport. Next slide. Here is a visual representation. This is not to scale. It would actually be smaller than this. But this is to give an idea of how it would look in the intersection. So you see the handcrafted tile work, and then the blue jay on its podium a little bit above the wheels, mosaics. Next slide. It does include a lighting component so that it's visually apparent at night. And that was a representation of how that would look. Next slide. And here are some of the dimensions which are featured more in the exhibit to the staff report, which is the proposal from Farallon Design. But it's approximately 7.5 feet high. The slope diameter there is 5.5 feet from center to edge of the circle. And overall dimensions or impact area of the monument is about 12 feet, as featured on the upper right area of the screen. Next slide. And with that, happy to take any questions. This is an informational item, but we do encourage your feedback and your insights on the design or questions about how it'll operate inside the roundabout.
Excellent. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. Mr. Hernandez, do you have any questions?
Not offhand right now.
Ms. Peterson, any questions on your end?
I just have a question about the cost. Is the cost in, I know you said that the grant was given, is this all-inclusive for the finished product? Can you elaborate on that?
I can, yes. The cost is anticipated to be approximately $1 million. The grant will cover the portion of the monument, the artwork and the design and construction of the monument, and then the installation will be covered by the Alisal Vibrancy Plan Capital Improvement Program. So it's a local match, but the artwork is paid for by the grant program.
Cool.
Okay.
Commissioner Guerra.
I had a couple of questions for you. Great presentation. I'm glad you got the grant. That's awesome. I have a question. Who will maintain the trees that you plant there in that area? I'm talking about not just around the Skyway roundabout or Skyline roundabout, the trees that are going to be next to the bread box and down Sanborn. I know we're having an issue with the maintenance on the trees lately. Who will maintain those trees as far as water, trimming? Because what happens is when we don't take care of the trimming on that, they do destroy the sidewalks. We don't want to do that.
No, excellent question. The initial maintenance of the trees was through the establishment period, and the installation contractor was responsible for that. That then transitioned to the city, Public Works Department, and we have a 5-year maintenance agreement with the state to ensure that what the state paid for will remain in good order for at least 5 years. And those obligations are funded in part through the Alisal Vibrancy Plan Capital Improvement Program.
And I had another question. With that grant, did they think about maybe putting better lighting in that area, not only around the Skyline roundabout, but also in Sanborn? It's kind of dark at night there.
Lighting assessment was not included in the grant. However, it is moving forward separately. Public Works is completing a lighting assessment for East Salinas.
And then the ADA compliance on that, would that be effective? Is that part of the grant also to maybe restripe? Have you been around that roundabout on Skyline? It needs
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
restriped. It needs to have the ADA, that yellow stuff they walk on, what is it called? I don't see that it's been taken care of. Are they going to do maintenance to that while they're doing the grant, or is that not part of the grant?
The grant is distinctive to the artwork, but that's good to know about the needed maintenance for striping and the ADA detection ramps.
So should I do a QR alert and let Public Works know that that needs to be done? Because you're going to put a beautiful design up there, and then it's going to look not really nice when it's not restriped, and it's not cleaned, and it's not revamped in all the other areas around that beautiful monument. I'm just saying, can we have them go together?
Yeah, well, staff is here. We have heard the comments, so we can follow up on it.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you. Great presentation.
Commissioner Mattelli.
Hi there. I do have a couple questions. So first of all, the $2 million grant, where did that come from in '22?
State of California, the Clean California Grant Program.
Thank you. And then back to the tree question about the sidewalks. What, if you know, the plan for the routes to not affect the sidewalks being misaligned? I mean, is that a concern? Is that something we consider? Because around my neighborhood, I have to be careful not to trip on those sidewalks.
Yeah, no, excellent question. I know in years past, tree species that had roots that went out instead of directly down were planted, such as the magnolias, and those tend to lead to buckling and uplifting in the sidewalks. The new tree species are selected to be compatible with sidewalks, and the city has a list of acceptable trees that can now be planted. Those trees along Alisal, the jacaranda trees, are typical in urban landscapes, and they perform well on sidewalks.
So the roots grow down instead of out? Oh,
Correct.
interesting, okay. And then the RFPs for the artwork, how did that get published? How did people know that it was out there? Where does that go?
Sure, it's distributed through the city's public bid portal called Planet Bids. It was also advertised on social media and then shared with local art groups as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few quick questions. One of the items on the CCLBGP said that it creates jobs and cleans litter and things like that. Is this just like a public works directed litter pickup or trash collection service like we have in downtown? Or is it an augmented cleaning like we do in downtown where we have additional staff walking around and picking up litter?
I think statewide it might vary by jurisdiction. For the city of Salinas, it was directly related to the installation of new trash corrals.
Okay.
So giving the opportunity for the public to have a place to put the trash. And then separately, the city does contract with Hope Services for supplemental litter abatement along East Alisal Street and other major corridors. So you might see crews walking around with their vests and their little grabbers and picking it up.
Hope Services?
Hope Services, yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, I was thinking Clean Streets Team. I'm like, wait a second, Clean Streets Team doesn't exist anymore, so I was confused. But Hope Services, yes. Sorry. Okay. And then on the committee members, it said 2 SUNY or Alisal Vibrancy members and then various staff. Do you have just a total, like, I'm just curious on how many staff, city staff was involved in this?
For the ranking committee, 1 from each of those departments.
Oh, just one?
From
Okay,
Public
cool.
Works, 1
All
from the library, and 1 from the airport.
And then, just because I'm a smart aleck, the picture that you guys showed with the bird on the on the roundabout is very big. Like, I don't like. Is there any way we can like for future presentations? Ours is done, but you can scale it to where it should be because I'm 6 feet across, so this is 5 feet for the bird, right? So that's I think the roundabout shows a very positive picture of what it should look like, when I think in reality it'll be much smaller.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think we can work on updating the.
Like, I don't know if you've ever
Graphic
seen a Mona Lisa
representation.
in real life, but like in real life it's like this big. You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's very small. Cool. That's all the questions that I have. Are there any questions from members of the public on this item?
Well, I guess it's me again.
Well, if you don't have to, if you don't
No,
want to.
no.
Oh.
You know, you need the the history of that area.
Yes, ma'am.
That was the Air Corps
I know.
at the airport where during the Second World War, we had men learn how to fly airplanes for the second to be pilots. That strip that's in the middle, that was their offices and some of their bunks, but most of them, where all those apartments are on John Street and Monty Mart, is where the families lived. When I came here in '56, they were still there. That should represent something to do with that. I mean, I love the birds, I love all that, but and putting it in that intersection, you know how many accidents happen there? Have you ever sat out there and watched them? That is they would be breaking it. And $2 million, boy, we could fix all those roads out in the LSL and the lights. I believe at last count there was 12 lights on Williams Road that did not work. There was another maybe 10 on LSL Road. Did not work. And they haven't been working for the last 4 or 5 years when I've been yelling about it. We need to fix those things first. $2 million, and when the state says you're going to do this, they're not forcing you to do it. They're telling you, and I talk to people that work for the state. No one's forces you to do exactly what they say. It's a suggestion. And like I say, our city, people that live in this city, and our committee people that live in the city, and the people that vote in the city should be making these decisions, not outsiders. Sorry about it, but we're the ones that pay the taxes. It's our money that's being spent. Even at the state level, it's our money. We need to use it appropriately. And fixing the roads. Do you know how silly we'd look with potholes all over Williams Road and LaSalle and all the other streets, and then putting $2 million on there? We're going to be the laughing
Thank you, Ms. Warden.
of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please,
Yes.
please. Your thinking caps on.
Are there any other public questions in the chamber or online? Perfect. I do have one really quick follow-up question, if I may. Regarding accidents, do we have any proof or evidence of like people encroaching on the roundabout of going straight versus around?
I've seen enough of them.
I can't speak to that.
Okay,
no.
fair enough. And then is there any chance of, because on the drawing it showed that it was like a 10 or 12-inch base. Like, is there any armoring of pillars or anything planned for that so people don't go through it?
I think that makes sense for an investment like this to have some sort of bollard or protection around it. Yeah.
Sorry, and since I opened the door, he's got a question too.
Yeah, additional question to that actual figure. Is it going to be two-sided, one-sided? What side is it going to be on?
Well, it's three-dimensional, so it's a full bird, and then the kaleidoscope goes around it. So you'll get the full perspective depending on which part of the roundabout you're
So
on.
it's round?
It's a bird-shaped.
I'm sorry?
It's shaped as a bird.
The flowers are shaped around like petals.
So the image is on one side of the roundabout or both sides, or?
You see the front side of the bird and the back side of the bird.
You'll see
My
the.
understanding.
So the back and the front will be shown in the middle. It'll be the same on both sides.
It might be best if we pull back up the slide
Yeah,
that
please, I'm
shows
kind
the
of confused
rendering.
on it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So I thought, the front side of the bird, and then there's a back
See
side.
his tail feathers?
Yes.
So the image is on both sides.
I don't know.
Bird.
One more slide.
Yes.
So there you can see the three-dimensional element of it. So depending on where you're standing, you could be looking at the front of the bird or the side of the bird or the back of the bird.
What's on the back of the bird? Nothing?
More mosaic tiles. Mosaic tile work.
Mosaic tile work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there's the back of the bird. Gotcha.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. All right. Let's go over to the study session for item 26291, study session for the Intermodal Transportation Center ITC planning efforts. And again, no action is required on our end. We just have to listen and comment.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Yesenia Segovia, and I'm the Assistant Planner with the City of Salinas in Advanced Planning. So this evening, I will provide an overview of the draft existing conditions and opportunities reports prepared by the City of Salinas for the train station, also known as the Salinas Intermodal Transportation Center, or ITC for short. These draft memorandums were completed earlier this year and presented to the Salinas Historic Resources Board at its February 2nd meeting. During that meeting, the Historic Resources Board requested that the city conduct additional community outreach. Therefore, at the request of the Historic Resources Board, the city conducted additional outreach to further inform the development of the Opportunities Memorandum. Next slide. The purpose of this meeting is to share key findings from the draft ITC memorandums and additional outreach, gather feedback, incorporate public input into the final memorandums. Next slide. To provide some background on the ITC, I'd like to begin with a brief overview of previous planning efforts. So in 2015, the Downtown Vibrancy Plan identified opportunities to enhance the ITC area. And in 2017, the city established a memorandum with TAMC, the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, where they began their Kickstart project, which redesigned the parking lots at the ITC and took down old buildings to accommodate and prepare for the future commuter rail service coming into Salinas. In 2021, the city rezoned the ITC property to allow mixed-use zoning and potential for housing. In 2024, the city contracted Harris & Associates to prepare an existing conditions memorandum, but their contract concluded later that year in December of 2024. In 2025, city staff carried out the draft existing conditions memo and opportunities memo and completed both drafts earlier this year. Next slide. As part of Harris & Associates' work on the project, they conducted an outreach survey that covered transportation usage and improvements to the ITC, amenities and activities, and historical value and significance. Next slide. Image 1 shows community members who took the survey are looking for enhanced amenities, like improved public restrooms, covered waiting areas, and better wayfinding signage. It also showed strong interest in activating the site through food vendors, parks, housing, and even bike storage. Next slide. Image 2 shows the respondents who regularly use public transportation most frequently utilized the Monterey Salinas Transit, so MST, rail service, and the Greyhound bus. Next slide. Image 3 shows how history at the ITC was identified as a major draw, showing strong recognition of the importance of preserving its historical buildings at the location. Next slide. As I mentioned in the beginning, city staff was asked to conduct additional outreach for the ITC to further inform the development of the Opportunities Memorandum. Therefore, during the month of April and early May, city staff conducted additional outreach through multiple one-on-one stakeholder meetings and even conducted a community workshop that was held on May 11th. The one-on-one stakeholder meetings were conducted with individuals who work at, live near, or otherwise are connected to the ITC. During these meetings, city staff shared key findings from the ITC survey and existing conditions memorandums, along with city staff recommended opportunities that could potentially be implemented at the ITC. Stakeholders were then given the opportunity to provide feedback on the findings and recommendations, including identifying what they supported as well as any items that the city might have left off. Next slide. So the May 11th community workshop was structured similarly to the stakeholder meetings, but included a broader range of Salinas community members. Participants engaged with informational posters displaying the city's recommended opportunity ideas and were asked to rate each idea on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 representing strongly disagree and 5 representing strongly agree. Currently, at this time, city staff is gathering and analyzing all outreach data in order to incorporate the feedback into the final memorandums before bringing them back to the Historic Resources Board on July 6th. Next slide. The topics shown on this slide were analyzed as part of the existing conditions memorandum, which found that internal improvements implemented by TAMC had circulation improved by enhancing parking and transit access. There's an opportunity to improve signage by adding a welcome sign at the front main entrance of Lincoln Avenue. Safety at the ITC is an issue due to the unhoused fires and overall security at the location. The ITC is designed as a public/semi-public and mixed use, allowing for a greater use of the facilities. Analyzed existing tenants currently at the ITC, like the First Mayor's House, Railroad Museum, California Welcome Center, Amtrak, and Greyhound were analyzed. Allows community resources to use its sites for events like food events, for instance, like What's Grubbin' Salinas. TAMC is continuing their work with the Kickstart Rail Extension Project and preparing for construction of layover facilities. And current parking at the ITC site is currently only 17% occupied during peak parking periods. Next slide. Can you go back, please? Thank you. So the list of opportunities shown on the slide were identified through the analysis of the ITC survey responses and findings from the existing conditions memorandum. Key opportunities at the ITC were included branding and signage around the ITC, coordinating transportation schedules like having MST routes arrive shortly before Amtrak departs or arrives, promote the ITC as an interim park and ride destination to retain sufficient parking for future commuter rail services, enhance wayfinding around the ITC for drop-off and pickup zones, using the ITC's existing mixed-use zoning to allow for a broader range of uses and activities at the site, and lastly, opportunities to enhance technology and operations, such as introducing interactive kiosks and digital displaying screens for schedules to improve passenger experience. Next slide. Thank you. So additionally, MST is studying ways to improve its bus services along East Alisal and Williams Road. A key part of this study is exploring possible relocations for their transit center. One area MST is considering and is not definite is moving to the ITC. While MST's relocation is not definite, it could serve as an additional opportunity to the ITC, as it can become an opportunity to co-locate local and regional transportation and improve transfer and rider convenience and reinforce the ITC as a multimodal hub. Next slide. So the image that you are seeing on the screen is a draft design concept designed by MST that shows what the relocation could look like. The design includes designated bus loading areas, pedestrian crossing, bike amenities on the loading area, landscaping, and parking. The design also shows that the buses would loop in and loop out, looping in from the Lincoln Avenue main entrance and looping out from Palmetto Street. Next slide. This schedule shows the timeline for the MST relocation study. The project is currently in outreach round 2, where draft corridor alternatives are being presented and evaluated. Next slide. Next steps for the Salinas train station ITC include incorporating community feedback into final memorandums, present key findings from the existing conditions and opportunities memorandums to both Traffic and Transportation commissions and Planning Commission, present finalized memorandums to the Historic Resources Board, and pursue near-term recommendations for activating the ITC. And currently, we are pursuing activation of the ITC that has already begun. With earlier this month, on June 2nd, the City Council approved a requested rename of the ITC to Salinas Heritage Park, establishing a new identity for the site and creating opportunities for increased community awareness and programming and future activation efforts. Next slide. And with that, I would like to turn it back to the commissioners and chair for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And I apologize again for being late to our one-on-one on Zoom.
That's okay.
All right, Commissioner Matelli, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you for the presentation.
Commissioner Guerra.
I got a couple of questions. When you do the surveys, how does the public sign up for the information to be sent to them to get either a survey or a date when your next meeting will be with the stakeholders, you guys, MST, everybody in one room? How do you get that information out to the public? I haven't seen it anywhere. I mean, I've gone on your Salinas website, City of Salinas, nothing there. I checked the newspaper, I didn't see anything there. I just kind of wondering, how do you guys promote that? Because I know you've had several meetings, and I've had this from people that live in that area that want to be involved, and they said they never come and let them know anything about it.
Great question. So the way we promoted this outreach for the train station was a lot through, for the May 11th community outreach event, promotion for that was done through community events, through just flyering, going to the Asian and Cultural Experience Festival and handing out multiple flyers there. Also on Salinas Day, we handed out multiple flyers that day as well. And then we also sent out Gov Delivery, which is like a newsletter that many Salinas residents will sign up for. As for how they sign up and give their email, I'm not clear on that process, so I do apologize, I don't have that answer. But it was sent via email to a very broad group who is signed up to those, to the Gov Delivery newsletter. And for those stakeholder one-on-one meetings, those stakeholders were reached out individually through city staff and just coordinated a meeting that would work, and that's how we reached them. Additionally, flyering was also done at the ITC, and at residence homes, senior resident homes near the area, and also at Sacred Heart School.
Okay. And then I guess your community workshops are probably when you had the Salinas Day. I think I went to that one. Where
Yes.
you guys had all the stuff out there.
Yes.
But it doesn't give you a date where you're going to have a meeting. That's what I want to know. How do the people get informed when your next meeting will be? If they missed that Salinas Day or they missed that flyer, there's really no communication with the public on it. And I want more transparency with the ITC, the MST, and the stakeholders who say they hold meetings and no one really gets invited. Because I've been trying to get invited to one for almost a year now, and I haven't got any information. I would love to attend one.
Yeah, my apologies. I also forgot to mention that we also sent out a social media blast as well through Instagram and Facebook to reach the broader public.
Do you have the social media or the Instagram?
It was posted on City of Salinas. So
City
if
of
you
Salinas?
just, yes.
I'll double check that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then when do you suspect the train to get here? I know we're waiting for the train to meet up and everything. Do we have a date? Because we've been waiting since 2014. It's 2026.
I do not have that date.
Okay. And then signage that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. Grant Leonard again. So Transportation Agency for Monterey County is the lead agency on the commuter rail project. And they are currently working on a layover facility where the trains would park at night. And they're also working with two train providers, Capital Corridors and Caltrain,
Okay.
to determine when that schedule would be. But it wouldn't be until after the infrastructure improvements are done. So we're still talking a few years away at the earliest.
Okay. And then I know we did vote for, city council voted for new signage, the new ITC signage with the stakeholder new name. Do we have a cost on that? Because the public should know what the signage will cost, because it is going to be taxpayer money paying for that. I know the stakeholders did raise some money, but it doesn't cover everything. From the last meeting I went to, I remember hearing that we need a number that we can tell the public exactly what we're going to spend and be more transparent so they can have trust with you guys.
From my understanding, you kind of touched on it, is so the Heritage Salinas Heritage Park stakeholder group did mention that they have their own private investors and have funding for the signage and for banners. As for if they do need extra allocation of money, I believe that would be their jurisdiction.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking that question is because they wanted to include signs to let people know where the center is in case they didn't know. These would not be signs actually at the location they'd be outside the location to help you, lure you to the correct location of where the ITC center is. And there was never a number given. They just said there'll be additional money spent there, but never a disclosed amount. I guess that's my question.
Yeah, so as for the actual disclosed amount, I wouldn't have that amount. I believe the stakeholder group would have that amount.
All right, and then my final question is, I know that East Salinas does not have anything past Del Monte, correct, on MST transit? Are you trying to include maybe going all the way down to East Miranda and maybe coming in that way?
That would be a great question for MST. So who's presenting next?
Can she answer it? No? Oh, she'll let us know. Oh,
Yes.
thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you for the presentation. That's great.
Commissioner Daley, do you have anything?
I don't know if it could be a little premature. If MST was to relocate to the ITC, what about the existing, I don't know how the monies do or where, I'm sure other people have figured those things out, but is that, I know that MST has been looking for an additional location to expand, so is this part of their expansion plan or?
The ITC, being a new relocation for MST, is not definite. It's just
Proposal,
a proposal.
okay.
And I have a feeling that Ms. Overmeyer is going to talk to us about it in great detail.
Okay, we look forward to hearing about it then. Thank you, just my note.
Commissioner Peterson.
No questions. Will we have comments after public comments?
Sure. Commissioner Hernandez.
Thank you for your presentation, but, you know, that area, it's pretty bad right now, congested. And with all this going on now, your plans for the future, it's going to get worse. You know, summertime, you got all the produce trucks going back and forth. It's going to back up traffic. People will try to cross. Wintertime's not too bad because they're all down south. But, you know, we have to do some planning in that future in that area because it's going to get ugly. So that's all I have for. Thank you for everything.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I don't have any questions, direct questions. I mean, I think we all are aware of some of the opportunities and things that we should or could be doing there. But I think there's many more stakeholders that are going to stick their finger into this and change what it's going to be. But thank you for your presentation. I guess we're anxious to hear more when the opportunities do show up. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, public. Gosh, I'm sorry, I'm just not with it today. Public comments, please.
Hello,
Ms. Shim, how are you?
I'm Eloise Shim, and I'm a resident of District 3, and I live close by there, right across the street, and also I'm a member of the HRB. And, you know, I wasn't in favor of renaming it the Heritage Park, so I think when they did bring it to the last council meeting, they had a compromise where they would include the name as ITC and Heritage Park, which I'm glad that they're not throwing out ITC because it is a transportation center. But all the plans that they have for it, a children's park, maybe mixed-use housing, MST, bus, and I know where they say the buses would enter, but where would they exit? Where would they
Palmetto.
exit? Where?
On Palmetto, on the other side of 60 West Alice, or 60 West Market. On the other side, as it wraps around and it comes back on the other side. Next mechanic shop. Yeah.
Next to the,
So when you're standing at the intersection of Market and Lincoln, looking north at the train station, there's another road that pops out on the other side of that building, and that's Palmetto. And it wraps around.
oh,
Yeah.
it's not Salinas Street?
Nope.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, you know, that's very congested there, and you have the Sacred Heart. They have children there. They have the mosque children there on the weekend. They have all the seniors there at the Steinbeck and at the Gateway, and a lot of them are disabled and in wheelchairs and walkers. And once you have that Amazon coming in fulfillment thing, that Market Street, which is really Highway 183, is going to be like asking the pedestrians there that live around there in the little old neighborhood to be crossing like a Highway 101. It's bizarre that they're thinking about putting all that traffic, you know, billions of dollars of tourists and MST, and it's just crazy. Really, it's not reasonable. It doesn't make sense at all to me. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Warden.
Sorry about all this. Marianne Warden. I was on the traffic Commission when it first came about. Are you aware there was supposed to have been an overpass so people could walk across? And Eric, tell me if I'm right or wrong. MST had an opportunity to be across there, and they turned it down. I may be wrong, and he can tell me that. But have you ever been down on Market Street and tried to make a left turn onto either Salinas Street or any of these other streets? And at 12, I go to the Mass at 12:15 at Sacred Heart a couple of times a week. Traffic is backed up all the way to under the underpass. You cannot make a left turn, and it's basically trucks and the cars. Now, they all asked me again at church, why? Why isn't the city doing something about it? This shouldn't be happening on that street, and you want to make it worse? I mean, I'm not against having this, the transportation. I'm not against it. But with Market Street the way it is, there's no way that it would be safe enough for anybody to try to walk across. Let's not endanger our people any more than what we do already. I mean, that sounds all nice. But please, there's going to be people trying to walk across to go to catch the bus. I see them coming from the train, trying, when they used to come with the Greyhound was still here, coming over here, and they couldn't get across with their suitcases. Please, think twice about that. That over here, they got that place there because they wanted it. They practically begged us for it.
Thank you, Ms. Warden.
So think twice.
Mrs. Saunders.
Good evening. Frank Saunders, downtown local property owner. And more than that, I've been here for 50 years, right in the downtown. And I look at what they want to do with the ITC, and all of it's good, except for the fact that there's very poor connection to the rest of the downtown. And Peter Casavan came up with an idea years ago. He and his dad both worked this idea, and it was to underground Market Street. It solves a tremendous amount of problems. And yeah, it's expensive. But in the long run, you spend the dollars to get a design that's going to work for many years to come. That property right next to ITC is some of the most valuable property in the town. And if you stick MST right in the middle of it, you pretty much compromise its ability to expand and to do the things that we would really like to see. I love the idea of mixed-use housing down there, but the long term, the best opportunity I think we have is to underground Market Street. And I think we should look at that. That was in the vibrancy plan. It's been studied by the city for many years. It's been looked at by many talented architects, and that is, I believe, the best solution. And in the long run, we're going to have a good connection between the train tracks. I won't be around to see this, but I would love for it to happen for my kids and for all the other young people in this area. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Online? You want to do, what do you want to do first? Craig or Peter? Peter. Looks like Peter. Mr. Casavan, are you there?
Oh, hi, Commissioners. Can you hear me all right?
A little crackly, but yes.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank Mr. Saunders for his kind comments. I think that would be transformational. But I would just want to say that the community's vision for the ITC should be no mystery. The city commissioned the downtown vibrancy plan at a cost to taxpayers of over $400,000. 30 shareholders agreed to the city's call for help and participated in 28 meetings. They contributed over 1,000 hours of their time to help Salinas create a vision, which includes proposals for the ITC. Your existing conditions report references the vibrancy plan, language on your desk. Quote, the ITC is a key opportunity area with significant potential for redevelopment, activation, and stronger physical and economic connections to downtown, and envisions a potential to repurpose portions of the lots for mixed use or transit-oriented development. From the ITC opportunities memo you have, quote, the ITC is well positioned for transit-oriented development. Presence of nearby historic destinations strengthen its potential to evolve into a vibrant mixed-use district. Opportunities to introduce new housing, commercial activity, and connections that can contribute to more accessible, active, and economically resilient downtown. In the city's general plan, which is the highest level document and planning document in the city, it recognizes the ITC, and quoting from the general plan, quote, revised policies and regulations to incorporate the downtown vibrancy plan recommendations and incentivize and streamline new investment. Unfortunately, the documents you have tonight include few, if any, of those opportunities identified in the vibrancy plan and the general plan. At their May 11th meeting, planners were asked if they were even aware of those opportunities. They said they did know about them and claimed that they would be including them in their opportunities report. Unfortunately, that has not happened. So the commission has been provided with insufficient information regarding the community's vision for the ITC. We recommend the commission continue this hearing to a time when you can hear the rest of the story on the ITC vision directly from representatives of the community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Casavan. Also, at this time, I want to disclose I am an employee of the Salinas City Center Improvement Association. Both Mr. Casavan and Mr. Saunders are on the board of this organization, and I manage the downtown on behalf of this organization. So while my opinions here are my own, I do work for an organization that is vested in the downtown. So just so you guys are all aware of that everything's above the table here. So you guys know who I am and where I stand in this particular position. And I think we have Craig Kaufman still. Yeah. We're just waiting for. Oh, did Craig drop off? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if he comes back, but all right. At this time, then, public comment will be closed. And do we have any other final comments on this before we hand it back to the staff? Commissioner Mattelli? Okay. Commissioner Hernandez? Mr. Peterson?
For the presentation. This is your first time with us, isn't it? Well, good
Yes.
start. Good start. Thank you.
Commissioner Daley? Commissioner Guerra? Any final last things to say? I know you got something.
Yes, great presentation. I just think we should take into account what the public is asking. And if we can be more transparent with the meetings, with the stakeholders, like I said, ITC and MST, get them all in one room and actually invite the public, everybody, promote it, you'd have better results on how people react to what you want to do. And I think that's the problem we're having around the city. We're not doing that. We need to be more proactive and get more people involved. And thank you again. Those are all my comments. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to go to our final presentation, 7 o'clock. See if we can get Michelle Overmeyer out of here. Final presentation, Monterey Salinas Transit and the Salinas Rapid Bus and Transit Center Relocation Study, which goes to the meat of our conversation about the ITC.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioner. So, yes, this is a presentation that will be a presentation on the Salinas Rapid Bus and Transit Center Relocation Study by MST. MST presented on November 2025, giving an overview of their service and introduce the rapid bus and transit relocation. And their MST, Michelle Overmeyer, MST Director of Planning and Innovation, is here to give a presentation on their update on the Salinas Rapid Bus and Transit Center relocation study. And with that, I'll leave it to Michelle.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Michelle Overmeyer with Monterey Salinas Transit. It's nice to be here again. So I'm presenting tonight on our Rapid Bus and Transit Center relocation study. Monterey Salinas Transit is the public transit operator for the whole county of Monterey. We are a special district, and we're governed by a board of directors that's made up of one city council member from every city in the county and then one county supervisor. When I came to your commission in November, I think I gave you the overview, but just as a quick refresher, we have service not just within Salinas, but all over the county, and we provide connections to Santa Cruz County at the Watsonville Transit Center, to Santa Clara County at the Gilroy Caltrain Station, and to San Luis Obispo County at the Paso Robles Transit Center. All of MST's routes are $2, and you can ride for 2 hours, no matter how many routes you want to use. So you can get pretty much anywhere in our system for $2 one way. Before I go to this presentation, I did want to say, because we have a lot going on in Salinas, this is the county seat. This is where most of the population is in the county. MST has a bus yard in the city where we store vehicles. And we've we have so many buses now we can't accommodate all of them in that current location. So we have a project going right now where we're going to be relocating that operations and maintenance facility, and that is separate from this discussion that I'm going to talk about tonight. So where the buses are stored and maintained is a different topic. I'm happy to come back and share information on that if you'd like. But this is more about our operations and our transit hub that exists just a block from here where the passengers go to change buses. So the map here shows the corridor that we're looking at. There's two components to this planning study that we're undergoing. One component is studying the corridor, the operations of our buses on our highest ridership routes serving the LSL community. We have lines 41, 42, and 47 that operate along that yellow highlighted corridor. And then the second component to the study is the transit center itself and the challenges that we have at our current location and potentially looking for alternative sites. So this planning study is funded with a Caltrans planning grant, and there's local match coming from MST, the City of Salinas, and Taylor Farms. There's a QR code in the top right part of the screen that's sort of obstructed right now, but you should have it on the agenda. And that'll take you to our project webpage on MST's website. And that's where we're putting all the documents that are related to this study. Before I move from this map, I did want to point out that, yes, our transit service currently goes along LSL and Williams, and then we turn on Del Monte. And that's as far east as we go right now. The city is expanding. Barden Ranch is going to develop out there. There is going to be demand for transit. And today we don't have that service planned. There's obviously no residents out there right now. But someday it's possible that we will operate further east. Next slide, please. This is an overview of our project schedule for this planning study. It started last summer. We have a technical advisory committee, a TAC, on the project, and the TAC is made up of City of Salinas staff, Transportation Agency for Monterey staff, Caltrans, MST, and we have a participant from the City Center Improvement Association, who happens to be your chair. So this technical advisory group is helping inform the whole process. We've had 2 TAC meetings so far, and we're going to be having our next TAC meeting coming up when the next round of public outreach begins. So I presented to this commission back in November when we first had outreach in round 1, and at that time I had shared the QR code to access the public survey at that time, and I'll get into those results in a little bit. Next slide, please. The study goals are listed here. I just want to highlight that the corridor that we're looking at has the highest ridership in MST's entire system. So most of the riders are starting or ending in that corridor. And then the Salinas Transit Center is the biggest activity center where people can transfer buses. So there's a lot of activity happening in these areas. And MST has invested a lot on the peninsula, and we've received comments that Salinas deserves its fair share of investments in transit, and that's one of the reasons that we're doing this planning study. On-time performance continues to be an issue for MST. We're stuck in traffic and we can't meet our schedules. And one way to increase transit ridership is to make the buses run on time. They should be reliable and they should come more often. And those are things in the industry that we see that drive the ridership. When people know that it's reliable, they might choose to take transit and leave their car behind. Part of the study goals also include supporting the city's Vision Zero policy. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Vision Zero, that is the idea that we can make changes in our transportation network to reduce injuries and fatalities from accidents. So this study supports the city's efforts there with the Vision Zero. And then we also want to maximize the public right-of-way. There's only so much space on roadways. We can't keep widening and building more lanes, so we want to be cognizant of that and use the public infrastructure efficiently. Next slide. So there are, next slide, please. There are 2 components to this planning study, and I'm going to start with the transit center analysis. Next slide. So this is our transit center that's a block from here. I presented this to you in November, but this is a refresher. It's been there for a while. You can see that bus there is pretty old. That's what we used to drive. Our buses are a little bit newer now. The transit center has 9 gates where all of the buses can come in. We operate on a pulse system, so our buses are operating on roads all over the county. They pull into the Salinas Transit Center for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then people can change buses if they need to change directions, and then the buses go out. So we have 9 gates right now. The transit center serves 19 bus routes at those 9 gates. And then it is a location of a public restroom in downtown Salinas. I think it's the only public restroom when this building is closed to the public. Next slide, please. This graph is something that I presented to you in November, but I thought it'd be a good refresher. Our transit center here across the street sees about 3,400 people on an average weekday. The busiest time is between 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Next slide, please. We did a public survey with the first round of outreach in the fall. The survey was open from October 28th to December 7th. We received 360 surveys that were collected, and this shows some of the findings here. The transit center is used mostly to transfer between buses. 50% of the survey respondents said that, and then 40% walk to the Salinas Transit Center. So again, putting things into perspective, 3,400 people a day use that transit center, and about 40% are walking there. So wherever we go, it's important to know that people need to have a safe way to walk to the transit center. Next slide, please. So we look at our existing condition and what our future facility requirements will be. Right now, our transit center across the street is just under an acre in size. We have 9 gates. We have a customer service window, a small driver break room. We have the 1 public restroom. We've outgrown that site. As I mentioned, there's too many buses coming in there. We can't expand, and the city is growing. We're going to have to add service in the future to serve the east part of the city and the north parts that have those specific plans that are going to be developed. So we need a facility that will be over an acre in size. We'd like to have 12 bus gates at this future location, a larger space for our customer service area, and then more public amenities. We constantly hear requests for more public restrooms and possibly commercial space. So we need more space so that we can adequately allow for passengers to transfer between buses. So next slide, please. The planning study included a scope for looking at 5 locations to be evaluated. So MST worked with City of Salinas staff to look around downtown and identify potential locations that might fit our needs. Again, the facility requirements are an acre, somewhere that can accommodate 12 bus gates, more passenger restrooms, better bike facilities. So we started with 5, and we have narrowed that down to 3 locations that are moving forward. We looked at criteria such as site access, configuration, roadway network implications, bike and pedestrian access, and land use context. So the 3 sites are the Intermodal Transportation Center, the surface parking lot on Alisal between Church and Lincoln, and then on John Street, where the Chase Bank and the Starbucks are. Next slide, please. So the first location is the Intermodal Transportation Center, which you just heard a presentation on. Again, common through the 3 sites that I'm going to talk about, all of them include space for 12 bus gates. 2 of those 12 gates will be able to accommodate 60-foot articulated buses, the accordion-style buses. We don't have those in our fleet today, but it's possible that we might need them 20 years from now. All 3 sites that I'll be showing have space for the customer service window for the in-person interactions with the public, and then improved bike amenities. So one thing I did want to correct on the prior discussion, when we're looking at bus operations, safety is MST's #1 priority, and our risk department really does not like unprotected left turns, and so we design our routing that way. So we'll do 3 right turns to avoid 1 left turn that's unprotected. In this case, we're looking at one-way directional driveways for the buses, and then they would come up around to the right, and then they would exit through Lincoln Avenue, not Palmetto, so that they can access a signal. Palmetto doesn't have a traffic signal right now. We're still playing around with the circulation for the non-MST buses, so there's Greyhound, Amtrak, school buses, Flix. I heard that Tesla has a commuter bus that stops here. So we're playing around with the non-MST bus locations in the top left. This site does pose challenges. Market Street is not comfortable for people to cross, and it's also a Caltrans facility. The city doesn't own it. So those are some of the things that we're evaluating. Next slide, please. The second location is on Alisal. This is the surface parking lot between Church and Lincoln, across from the post office. So you can see the site design here. This one incorporates some parking to the south to help support the library and the uses around there that are using the existing parking. When we first looked at this one, we thought about having some on-street bus gates in front of the post office, but that is a non-starter with people needing to do quick drop-offs at the post office. So we've designed some on-street gates there on Alisal, but most of the gates are off-street. Next slide, please. The third location is the only one that's private property that we're considering. This one is on John Street between Main and Monterey. And we will be finalizing our evaluation on these 3 locations. The consultant is looking at things like bicycle and pedestrian access at the 3 locations, risk factors like environmental risks, and then they'll be preparing cost estimates. So those will be coming out when Outreach Round 2 launches. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to switch over to the corridor. This is Alisal and Williams Road. Next slide, please. We did a public survey in the fall. Most people that responded to that survey live near the corridor, and most walk or bike to access the bus stops. Next slide, please. We have heavy ridership along this corridor. This shows the top 10 locations where we see people getting on and off the bus. All bus stops that are noted in these 2 tables see over 50 people on an average weekday. Next slide, please. And then just throughout the corridor, as we're operating our service, we're carrying about 300 people a day through that corridor. Next slide, please. This shows some of the responses we got from that public survey, and the public want buses that come often and on time, and seating and safety were also noted as community values in this survey. Next slide, please. More responses from the survey are here. So as far as moving people through that corridor, the public was asked to pick 3 priorities. And the choices that received the most first priority votes is making transit faster and more reliable. So I think you see the theme here. Next slide, please. So one way to make transit faster and more reliable is to design bus rapid transit into roadways. This is new to Monterey County. We are constructing bus rapid transit on the peninsula right now. We don't have it in Salinas yet. So bus rapid transit includes features like dedicated lanes for transit and emergency vehicles, traffic signal coordination and priority phasing, improved bus stops that often have level passenger platforms. So things that can speed the boarding process and keep transit moving. 3 corridor options were presented in the survey to the public, and we looked at 3 segments. Might be hard to see on the map, but segment 1 is on Alisal from Front Street to Highway 101. Segment 2 is Alisal from Highway 101 to Williams. And then segment 3 is Williams Road from Alisal to Barden. The survey results showed that for those 3 segments, the first ranked among the public was the side running dedicated lanes. Next slide. So our planning study includes scope to analyze 2 alternatives in more detail. So we're moving forward with alternative 1, which is the side running bus lanes on the top. And then alternative 2 is existing conditions with some enhancements at intersections and improved bus stops. The engineering plans for the whole corridor are really long, and I couldn't include all of them here. But again, there's a QR code where you can access that on our website, or you can go to MST's website. On our homepage, you'll see a link to the Salinas Rapid Transit project, and you can access it there. There was a third alternative that was presented in the scenario, and that was center running dedicated bus lanes, and we've ruled that one out, so we're not moving that one forward in the analysis. Next slide, please. We had a community focus group corridor walk in April. This community focus group has been participating with the project on a couple things. We had a meeting with them, virtual meeting with them in January or February, and then we did this community walk in April, and it was a really good turnout, and we looked at a couple different locations along the corridor, and we rode the bus in between, and it was really packed. We used regularly scheduled MST service. We didn't get a special bus for this, so it was a fun field trip. Next slide, please. So I'll show you what alternative 1 and 2 look like in a few situations. So the first location here is Alisal at Monterey Street. And in this location, the two alternatives are pretty similar. Looking eastbound, we would move our bus stop, which is currently at the parking lot. I think that's the Rabobank building on the other side of Monterey Street. So we would move it to be a far side stop. It would be past the intersection. And then coming towards the intersection, we would implement a queue jump. So the bus would get basically its own green light first to hop ahead of the traffic queue. Next slide, please. As we move down the corridor, the differences between the two alternatives are a little more apparent. So in alternative 1, you can see the dedicated transit and emergency vehicle lanes separated from mixed flow traffic. And then there'd be a center turn lane, bike lanes on both sides, and then parking on one side of the corridor where there's space. Alternative 2 does not have the dedicated bus lanes, but in this rendering, you can see that the bus stop has been improved, so the sidewalk extends out more. The bus would create an in-lane bus stop, so we'd stop traffic, basically, so we could load people and then keep moving and not have to fight to get back into traffic and move on. Next slide, please. And then this option here, or these renderings here are on Williams. The alternative 1 has the dedicated side running lanes. In this area, the city is looking at doing the center running landscape median. And we have bike lanes on both sides. In this alternative, there's no space for parking in this particular location. Alternative 2 does not have the dedicated bus lanes, but has an improved bus stop. So again, we've punched out the sidewalk a little bit more, so there's more space for people to wait and board, and the bus can just keep going. Next slide. So this is where we are. We're nearing the end of the planning study. The consultant is currently finalizing evaluations. They'll be looking at things like transit travel time between the two alternatives, road safety, parking impacts, and benefits to priority populations. So we'll be gathering that information and bringing that back to the public for feedback. Next slide, please. And that is coming probably July or August. And then we'll be wrapping up and we'll have some final recommendations. But I just want to reiterate that this is a planning study. There would be a lot more work on both the transit center relocation and the corridor. These are high-level designs, so there need to be more engineering design put into this, and then we'd have to look for construction funds through state and federal grants. So it's a long process, and this is a planning study. The next slide has my contact information, and I can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very informative. I was on that bus trip, like you know, and I learned a lot. Can you tell us just 2 or 3 minutes about your Sun Street relocation and what that is and what it is not?
Is it okay?
I know
it's not on the agenda, but
I know but just for clarification, because we all saw it in the newspaper, and I think the newspaper painted it in a different light than it really is.
okay.
Right?
Yeah. So the Sun Street location is where we're going to move our operations and maintenance facility. So where the buses are parked overnight and where the mechanics work on the buses, do the oil changes, tire rotations, where we plug in the electric vehicles overnight. That'll be moving from Rossi Street to Sun Street. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank
And
you.
we can come back and do a more thorough update on that.
Well, let's go into commissioner questions. Commissioner Matelli, do you have anything?
I do have one question. Thank you for the presentation. During the study goal slide, there was a comment regarding priority populations. Can you just tell me what that means, please?
Yeah, so the state of California has a screening tool that they use for certain funding programs. It helps them prioritize where they're going to direct funding. And the state uses the term disadvantaged community, and that has a negative connotation. And so we've started calling them priority populations. So these are areas that are typically underinvested. They've lacked investments over the years, and that's where we see zero-car households, transit-dependent individuals and families. So the populations that we're targeting.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Guerra.
I got a couple questions. Who's the city council representative for Salinas that is in your?
On the MST board,
Yeah.
it's Tony Barrera.
Okay. Tony, good. I need to talk to him. And then I know that you said you reach out to the public on your TAC meetings. Is it done through the Salinas City Connect, through the website?
No,
How do
the TAC meetings are more technical working groups, so they're not general public meetings. Yeah, so it's more like city staff.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. And then for relocations, have you tried looking at maybe the Firestone area or maybe the expo site of building maybe a transit center there?
So we looked at, we talked with city staff about potential sites within the downtown area, because we want to be close to where
You
people
want
are
to go
walking.
downtown, okay.
And we kind of discussed areas that maybe have projects coming up, so we wanted to stay away from them. If there were mixed-use housing projects coming up, we weren't going to pursue those locations.
Okay.
So it was just through discussions with the city.
And then the designated lanes that you plan to build, have you thought about maybe what size bus you're going to use? We're going to have 3 roundabouts coming into East Salinas, just so you know. And your bus routes go right through there. Have you thought about maybe getting together with the city and the planner who does the roundabouts to make sure your bus will fit through there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I did see a news article about the other roundabout, and there was something moving through there that got stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, we had it stuck.
I think it was an airplane.
On Barden. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
so
That's why I'm asking, because the lettuce trucks barely fit through there. They have the Caterpillar trucks go through there, and they barely fit through there. I've seen them, they barely squeeze by. The bus is a little bit bigger, I
Yeah.
think, than both of those.
Yeah, we have, well, there's roundabouts in other parts of the county that we navigate.
Okay.
But MST has a guidebook called Designing for Transit. It's really technical. It's written by engineers, and if there's road projects coming up, I ask whatever city it is, can you please refer to this guideline and make sure that the engineers designing your road projects make sure that it complies, because that's the check for MST, to make sure that we will be able to navigate.
And I would like to get on your mailing list for your surveys. I didn't get one this year. How do I do that? How does the public get on your mailing list to get surveys for this?
Yeah, I don't know if we have a general email list. We do have a project, the SURF project's going on, and you can register for those emails, or for those weekly emails that come. I don't think we have a general email list. We post to social media, we post inside the buses, so the riders, that's mostly where the riders see it. We'll provide information at public meetings like this. and in person at community events.
So I gotta probably go to one of your events then to get that proper information. My final question is, I know that the city, Taylor Farms, and I believe one of the entity you mentioned will be splitting the bill. Do you have an amount yet, so you can let the public know what we're looking at as far as taxpayer money?
Yeah.
What's gonna go into that?
That went to city council, I can't remember when. It was in an agendized meeting. If I remember correctly, the city's paying $28,000 towards the study.
Okay, that's just for the study.
For the study, yeah.
What are we looking at the project itself? Have you projected an amount?
That's what the consultants are working on. And
Oh, you're still working on it.
And when we do the outreach round 2, we'll have that information.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. And I want to thank you because I know you guys do a lot of great work for a lot of people out there that can't get around. And I know nobody ever tells you thank you. I want to tell you thank you. I've used your system for my mom, and it went a long way. And I appreciate all that because that goes a long way in the public. Thank you very much. Those are all my questions.
Thanks.
Commissioner Daly.
Thank you. Yes, a very extensive study. Thank you for all the time and lots of back thought into the locations and everything. I just wanted to say thanks. We can see all the dichotomies that you're dealing with, so thanks for sharing.
Commissioner Peterson.
Thank you for the presentation. Just for what it's worth, it's been less than 12 hours since I was at the station, less than 12 hours since I was on an MST bus, so, and I'm a big fan of Vision Zero because it works. I'm going to phrase it as a question, but it could be taken as a suggestion. The current location, well, background, MST is going to have to acquire property for any of these locations, correct?
Yeah.
The current location, there's a building right next to it. Would it be possible to buy that building and then expand in the same current location?
That was one of the things we discussed with the city. Grant's still here. I can't remember why we ruled that one out. There may have been another plan for that particular parcel. That is private. MST doesn't own that. Right at Lincoln and Central. Yeah.
The old photo studio?
Right. Yeah. Do you remember? It just didn't work. It might not have been enough space even with that.
Is that it? Sorry, are you done, Commissioner Peterson? That's it? Okay, cool. All right, Commissioner Hernandez.
Thank you for a great presentation, and that's all for now. Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to ask the public if they have any questions. Ms. Warden? Ms. Shim? And then I also see we have an online comment, so that'll be next.
I have a couple of comments. I don't have any questions. And I also want to thank you for, I know it's a large task, engineering, and I rely on the MST, and I have for 20 years, and I don't have any complaints about it. But I do want to comment about moving it to the ITC. On Lincoln there, you have I've said this before, but you have the two housing for seniors. And the fire department gets called there 52 weeks out of the year for the ambulance or a fire department or something. So, you put that entering the ITC, all those buses, that's going to make a congestion, a dangerous congestion, because the fire engines are there, I'm telling you. 52 weeks out of the year, you've got a fire engine there on Lincoln and Market for an emergency. The other thing that I want to say is that, and it's kind of skeptical and it's kind of negative, but I don't really see how much bigger these other places are than the present location. And I kind of think that the reason why they want to move it is because Taylor Farms there wants to put some housing either across the street or in two of these parking lots, and then that mixed-use housing is going to need parking. And I think, that's why they want it gone. And I just, the people, the stakeholders, they don't use the bus. They live in their, gated communities and everything. And I just think it's very inconvenient to move it. They don't have to. It's just for their future aggrandized financial, economic gain. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warden?
Sorry about that. Mary Ann Warden. Well, thank you again for that. And since my husband used to ride the little bus, had no complaints except they were always late, and sometimes they didn't come to pick him up on time, and sometimes they didn't pick him up on time at the facilities he went to. But my biggest complaint is you on Freedom Boulevard, down by Nativity Park, you have that bus stop down at the bottom where it comes down the hill, and I've complained about it since day one. And I took one of the ladies out there, we rode out there and looked at it. There was no shelter. You go with a wheelchair or a walker or stroller, and I've watched these women with their children struggling to go up that hill. And if they're pregnant, it's even worse. But that shouldn't be there. It should either be at the top of the hill on Constitution or on the top of the hill where it was at Nogel at one time. Whoever put it down there does not make any sense at all. On Constitution, when we did Constitution, we put a bus stop up there. We fixed it. Eric, you know that. He's half asleep. Anyway, we fixed the place out there. But down below, I feel for anybody that has to walk with a walker or push a wheelchair. That's impossible. I've done it on a straight road. On a hill, it's very, very difficult. Please get that thing out of there and put it at the top of Nogel or the top of Constitution. Thank you. Other than that, I have no problems with them. Get more shelters down the LSL area, that's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Constitution, where the children catches the bus.
Okay, I think we have one comment online. Go ahead, Ms. Casserman. You're muted still.
How about now?
There you go.
All right, I apologize for that. I mentioned I was president of SPARC. SPARC was created in part in reaction to major decisions public agencies make inside their bureaucratic silos without adequate regard for the interests of or the impacts of their decisions on the community. For example, a couple years ago, the county decided to move out of downtown to the Cap One facility at the far southern point of Salinas. Another example is the city's decision to put the community center in Sherwood instead of downtown, which has resulted in that facility being an underutilized asset for the last 50+ years and created no material economic development in the surrounding neighborhood. Putting MST in ITC would be contrary to the city's highest level planning documents and the community's vision. It would also reduce all the surrounding property values, add to the traffic congestion, while precluding any of the community's vision for the ITC in the Downtown Vibrancy Plan and the general plan mentioned in my earlier comments. We are aware of no broad or authentic community engagement that contributed to these site selection proposals. The time for that would have been when MST came to the city with their need to move. That was the propitious moments. The planners have acknowledged they provided all the site selections to the MST. I am not aware of any community engagement that participated in that selection. But it wasn't MST, but the city who should have reached out to its community at that time. This is the most important city planning decision since the community center went to Sherwood. And the community is an incredible resource that should be included in this decision. Since the community was denied that opportunity, we are now forced to react instead of collaborating on a solution that could best serve the long-term interests both of MST, but also of the community of Salinas. We have requested that when MST does their estimates for the projects, that they include an estimate of the cost for the lost opportunities of all the community's vision for the ITC that will never be able to be created. That is a cost. The community has independently begun to engage and has already identified other possibilities, some close by, that may be superior in balancing MST needs to efficiently deliver its services while also serving in the long-term best interest of the community. We request the Commission continue this hearing to a time when you can hear the community's vision for this proposal. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gassman. I appreciate your comments. Are there any other comments at this time? Okay, at this time, we're going to close public comments on this. And do we have any final questions from the commissioners? Anybody? Commissioner Mattelli.
Question or statement, not sure if it matters, but a common thread tonight was a notification of special meetings and group events, surveys, that kind of thing. Chrissy, I did just see your email, so thank you for that. But my concern is there's so many things going on in many different agencies, and as a member of the public, I believe it's my responsibility to go look and find out this stuff. But when it's so much, you kind of focus on your area of concern, if that makes sense. And so when people make comments like, I didn't even know that was going on, or I never saw anything about that, and then you guys comment on social media. It's like, I know social media is a big deal, but how many people do we follow? How many groups do we follow? And getting that information out. So it's very difficult for us to find. And I've said this several times, is if just the city had the website that we could just go and look up what the events are. And I think there is something out there. I don't think it's to all of what we're talking about, but a common thread tonight was how do we, not as commissioners, but as the public, how are we informed of what's going on? And Mr. Cassavan's comment about, this MST thing and being part of an earlier process, how does that information get out there? Is it our responsibility to keep going to the MST website and see what's going on? And I'm just going to be inundated on the internet like all day, every day, trying to get a feel for what's going on. So I'm not sure what the answer is. I just wanted to put that out there to say it's partially our responsibility to look things up, but there's just so much going on. And we get the packets. I get all the information from the city. I go look at city council agendas. I go look at other commission agendas. There's just so much going on. It's hard to figure out where my particular focus needs to be. Just wanted to state that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier, that we need to just inform the public correctly. And I think that we're not doing that. Having meetings I mean, your TAC meetings being private, I mean, I'm not really too fond of that. I like to see more community involvement because at the end, we're paying the bill, the taxpayers. Everybody that should have an opinion is not there to give it. And I know that you guys do it behind closed doors. I don't like that. I believe we should have a subcommittee of people in the public to have the transparency come out. We need to know what the amounts are gonna be. I come to a lot of meetings and I notice that city, I go to county meetings, there's never an amount of what you're gonna spend. You just do studies and spend money, and we don't know why we don't have a final amount. What's gonna happen? How much is it gonna be? Why isn't it included? You have so many great people in county and in city that can finance and do those projects, and we're paying outside sources to do it. I think it's a waste of money, a waste of taxpayer money. But I would like more transparency. If we're gonna be able to build something like this in Salinas that's gonna benefit everybody, you know, we should have the public involved in it 100%. Not just when you want us to be involved, all the time. Those are all my comments. And once again, thank you guys. You guys do a lot for the community. I do appreciate it. I'm not backlashing you. I'm just saying I appreciate you, but I like more transparency. I like to attend some of these meetings. I don't like private meetings, especially if I'm a taxpayer and I'm putting the bill up and I'm paying for it. I want to know what's going on. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, Commissioner Daley.
Thank you. I don't think I have anything new to say than what's already been said. Commissioner Vitelli, I appreciate your well-said thing about finding the right place. Thank you.
Commissioner Peterson.
Thank you. First, I agree with an awful lot of what Eloise said. I'm tempted to go out and pace off the measurements of the different properties because that building on the corner of, I guess it's Central and Lincoln, is pretty sizable. That lot, if that building were to go away, would be pretty sizable. And my observations, being there almost every day, is that facility runs pretty well. And I realize anything can be improved, but except for the occasional moment when two buses try fitting in the same space, and that doesn't happen often, it works pretty well. And I just wish the MST would take a closer look at that site because that would save a lot of problems. The one on John Street is kind of a hike to get to the train station, and that wouldn't be good for some people. And as would the one across the street from the post office. So as I say, I would just hope MST would look at that, expanding the current facility again, and that just might be the best solution. Thank you.
Commissioner Hernandez.
I agree with Commissioner Guerra. You're on point in what you said, and we need more transparency, what's going on, and appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
I do not have any more questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. I do know it's hard to keep the public involved. I get all the newsletters because I'm subscribed to them. I'm looking for them, but not everybody is. So thank you again for your presentation. And
Thank you.
with that, I think we are moving on to the commissioner reports and comments. Let's get this knocked out. Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any final comments and reports?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Peterson.
Oh, of course.
Right back to you, sir.
Couple things, and I'd like to get Greg's feedback on this one. I see the intersection of Gavilan and Main Street on a daily basis. And the other day, it was flashing red in every direction. And that intersection, when that happens, seems to work better. And that might be a good idea for a long-range solution to make it better. And admittedly, I'm being somewhat microcosmic because I'm seeing it first thing in the morning, and I'm not seeing it 3 in the afternoon, but still. Meeting last month, I mentioned bicycles on sidewalks in downtown, and I almost got hit by one today. Fortunately, the guy stopped, but it's really getting worse. And as I say, I'm there pretty early in the morning, and I don't even know what it's like at 9 or 10 or 3 or 5. But it's at the point where, well, first of all, I don't know who has the authority to post bicycles, prohibit bicycles on sidewalks. That just might be something Public Works can do without going any further. But I think we need to look into that. And second, we need to twist the arm of the police department. As I mentioned last month, we've got a Vision Zero plan, and the Public Works part is being done pretty well, financing considered, but the police department isn't. And I have mentioned this to the police chief, but it would really help if we could get bicycles off sidewalks. And I say that as a many-decade bicycle rider, and the vehicle code doesn't say exactly that bicycles are supposed to stay off sidewalks, but the old wording was all the rights and responsibilities, and responsibility is not hitting pedestrians. It's been reworded since that wording, but we need to get bicycles as best as, I'm not talking about 6-year-olds, but we need to get adult bicyclists off sidewalks, and I'm seeing more and more. It's really scary. And last, a question. North Main Street, is that Caltrans jurisdiction or is that Salinas?
It is Caltrans jurisdiction from Monterey up to just south of Bernal, and from East Bernal up to Russell Road, or a little bit south of Russell Road, it's city limits.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Daley.
No, I don't have any.
No, you good? Nothing? Okay.
I'm just back in the saddle.
Hi, I want to just congratulate my son Max. He graduated this year from Elsa High School, and all the other graduates. Thank you guys that attended that ceremony. And it rained, it was awful. They changed it from 4 p.m. to 6, and it would have been better to leave it alone. But inevitable, we got through it. I was soaking wet and, had to go and take a shower. I also attended the Taco Fest, which was Sunday at I believe the Rodeo Grounds. Great show. I want to shout out to Mr. Osornio. Thank you for hosting it. It was awesome. I can't wait for the next one. I think he has this Saturday they're going to have the taco trucks here again at the the ITC Center, excuse me, the MST Center. Getting ahead of myself. And I guess he'll be there early, so that'll be Saturday if you guys want to attend that. And also the Crusaders will be throwing a car show in Soledad, July 11th. Open to the public, it's free. You register your car, I believe it's $35 to register your car, motorcycle, everything else. And
This is Salinas stuff, buddy.
Well, this is traffic commission, and it involves a lot of people, and it's a good thing to do. And there's a lot of car shows coming up. Guys, please attend, and help your community, support everybody. Anything that we have going on, any small business, please help them out. Times are hard right now. Thank you, guys. Those are all my. Have a great night.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple last thoughts. Thank you to staff for all you do. I wanted to say thank you to Michelle before she left, but we'll get that. Thank you, public, for your comments. We appreciate that. And thank you also to the Zoomers, and welcome back, Chrissy.
All right. Okay, I guess I'll top it off. I do have a few questions from staff. I think this is slightly outside of our purview, but I am curious what's happening. Last month, we talked about the Alvin extension and dumping. I'm just curious if that was with Peter. I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not even going to try. It's a lie, yeah. So I'm just curious what the status of that was. I'm actually with Commissioner Peterson regarding the scooters on the sidewalk. And it's not just scooters right now. It seems like the last couple of months, the e-motorcycles have really taken off. Matter of fact, well, they're downtown all the time. And again, I work downtown. And it's actually turning into somewhat of a criminal element because police report's been filed, but they basically broke into a building downtown. And while I was inside of the building with the property owner, they tried coming in again. So there needs to be some sort of enforcement on these riders doing whatever they're doing. So again, but I'm going to reach out to PD on that as well, because that's not you guys. Again, I'm asking about the striping, potentially striping on Lincoln between Central and Market, where there's the senior parking that is dead smack in the middle of the bike lane, and if we can, what the tolerances are for vehicle lane widths, and how that funny curve can be done, because I think some of the, and I've seen it in person, because I pick up my child from school. I walk over there to school a lot, and people will aggressively pass in the oncoming lane to get to the stoplight fast enough to do the left turn or the right turn for that matter. So some of our drivers are quite inconsiderate, as you know. And then lastly, I want to follow up on a question regarding the repair on Romy Lane that I mentioned last month, whether it was a snafu or if it was a temporary patch or whatnot. Do you guys remember that question? Am I blindsiding you? Sorry, dude.
No, we checked with our development engineering division, Public Works, and yeah, there was an encroachment permit for that. It was a contractor doing utility work, and after the meeting, I believe the following week, they went out there, they plated instead of doing a temporary pavement, and then I believe now it should be good.
Okay,
and leveled.
I'll report back. And then you saw my email regarding the metal plates in the bike lane on Lincoln. Those are always fun and exciting. That's always
Just two cones.
Yeah, you know that one. Yeah. So those are my big ones. Again, I applaud the BRT coming in. I think more people should ride the bus, and especially if it runs on time. And for every, bus rider, we take a 20-foot car off the road, and the congestion will automatically go away. It's funny how that works. So thank you again. At this time, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at, it looks like 8 p.m.